Oh, hey, welcome back. If you've come from part one, welcome back. If you haven't seen part one yet, go check it out on my channel. But otherwise, this is part two of the Caddicarus Champion the Gamer interview. Enjoy.
Okay, next one then. So let's have a think about your history of gaming and what you play and everything. What is a game that people will be surprised to learn you haven't played yet?
Is Undertale too easy of an answer?
No?
I mean, would people be surprised? Probably not. The game I haven't played yet that people would be surprised. Final Fantasy VII. That's a pretty big one.
We
Uh,
get that. You know what? We get that every now and then, and people are like obviously surprised about it. I'm like, if you weren't around then, you didn't play it. You just didn't play it.
I
I,
mean,
I didn't play it
I
until
was. That's. I mean, okay, it was 97 that game came out, but like I was playing like Crash 2 was 97.
mm,
Like I grew up with PlayStation 1. I was born in 94, so I would have been too young to play Final Fantasy 7 back then anyway. But even with being surrounded by PlayStation and seeing Final Fantasy everywhere, no, I think as I've got older, there's a part of me that wants to see it just from historical context because for years and years I've just kind of put things like that off as like, do I want to waste my time because I know I might not gel with the game itself? And I'm happy to give it a try, but at the same time, it's almost like, well, if I'm not engaging with it, I just won't carry on with it just because I feel like I have to. But it is weird using Final Fantasy VII as an example because I've played the not the newest one anyway, but I played the remake when that came out, and I finished that, and I really really enjoyed it. And it was like, oh yeah, well, how does it compare to the original PlayStation One guy? I was like, I don't know.
next question is what do you game day to day? Like what are you playing day to day?
What system or what games?
Anything. Could be system, could be game titles, could be a series. Like what's
Nah,
your day to day look like?
I mean, the last year, to be honest, with all the personal shit going on, it's basically whatever I've had time for. I was in the middle of streaming the Astrobot, and I last streamed that August last year because shit hit the fan at home for multiple reasons, and it's just not been viable, possible, no time. I'd rather get good videos done than streams done when I know that like the streaming is very much just a kind of spare time. If people want to support it, great, but that's not who I am deep down. And I'm never going to be in the top 1,000 streamers. There's just no chance. So that's always been a kind of like wind down, chill, like this kind of thing. But I'm playing a game at the same time. So yeah, I if that's where I would get most of my modern gaming experience from, it would be from streaming. But yeah, this year, honestly, it's just been Hades 2. It's
Don't blame you.
which because yeah, it's just been like I'm into it and I'm very close to completing it. I'm saving. I've only got like two more achievements to get on Steam, and then I get the final achievement of, oh, you've got all the achievements. So I'm saving that for a stream because I think I could do it in a couple of hours. Um, Whenever I come back to streaming. But it's yeah, it's yeah, as far as a time sink goes, as far as a kind of getting into something and being unable to come out of it and go back into it, that kind of thing. This year it has mostly been that because just because of time. Honestly, I did a GameStop of all companies did their own version of the Game Awards, the American game retailer, and bringing him up again, Scott the was he was hosting it, and he invited he just discorded me one day. I was like, hey, so we need people to do rewards and shit. And he was very very sweet and put my name down, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. So what's the idea? I was like, okay, you need to come up with a category, some nominations, and then a game, make a video about it, send it over. So I did, and that category was yeah, the game that I only put more than 2 hours into because I was busy of the year, and that was Hades 2 because that's it. So if it wasn't Hades 2, it would be something on Switch 2 or Steam Deck, something portable, because that's the main jump in and out time I get with anything. Yeah.
Then final one. First instinct you have. What is the prettiest game?
Trickiest.
Prettiest. Most beautiful.
Trickiest.
Pretty. P R
Oh,
E T I E S T.
oh, so I thought you said prickiest. Yeah.
Did that for
um,
nonsense. Did that for
Prettiest.
nonsense.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Bloodborne.
Fair.
You said instinctual. There's probably others that I would say over than that. Maybe Ghost of Tsushima. That's pretty fucking gorgeous. Prettiest, because that, like, stylish Bloodborne. Yeah, if I'm thinking more about it, then if you're just going like, oh, this is very pretty, like very scenic, very picture perfect. Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima on PS5 is pretty fucking up there, definitely.
I like the question purely because you get an insight into the person. Because someone said to us, Wind Waker, or I don't know, anything, Hades, anything that looks slightly different is also quite pretty to them. So a calming.
Yeah, it's interesting because beauty's in the eye of the beholder, obviously, but then I think your use of the word pretty is also very important because I hear the word pretty. I don't think immediately like gorgeous, beautiful. I don't think deep. I think surface level when you say pretty. So then to say Bloodborne is pretty to me is like, I do think that, but again, like Wind Waker, Hades, whatever else, it's like, oh, but that's a style thing for me. Oh, okay. Would I say a style is pretty? No, I'd say a style is cool as fuck. So that's where it'd be like, hey, has Silent Hill 1 aged? Of course it has. Does it look fucking stylish and cool as fuck and nothing else looks like it? Yeah, 100%. So, but then would I call it pretty? No, not really. Yeah, it's interesting word usage. But yeah, you say the word pretty, I start thinking of flowers and gusts of wind and giant sweeping landscapes and all that shit. And I immediately then I'm like, oh, what was the last game I played where I was actually in the photo mode more than the game? Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima, definitely. Yeah.
Fair enough. And then our last section is, again, my favorite. And you'll see why in a second. But we do create a spotlight. So in create a spotlight, we get a chance for the guests to say some of their favorite creators or just the type of content they enjoy, just so we get an idea of what they consume. So in terms of spotlight, who are some creators you really enjoy? Or if you're not going to be giving names, that's perfectly fine. But what type of content do you consume?
I'm not going to give names. The main reason being because I'm inevitably going to be upset somebody that I know because I didn't mention them. So,
I always say you can give names if you want to, but if you don't want to, I completely get it because
so I was. That's exactly that. That's the first time I've been asked that question, and I like because you said that. I started thinking right now I'm going to do that for the rest of my time going forward. That's a really good way to do it because then no one gets upset and there's no pressure. So the kind of stuff that I like are, again, I'm being a bit, kind of open about it. I really enjoy conversational, podcasty interview things with legacy people that aren't really online. So comedians, mostly, lots of comedians. Like I love watching podcasts where a comedian interviews a comedian and all that kind of shit. And there's a lot of that, especially UK ones. There's a lot of that that's popped up recently in podcast form on YouTube. And it's the only kinds of places where you'll be able to see not underground at all, but people that I respect in a comedic sense or actor sense that wouldn't make their own videos on YouTube in a YouTube setting, but with other people involved that I also recognize and I know. Yeah, so I really like that kind of stuff. Stuff that's just very lighthearted, insightful into creative methods and funny, and more importantly. So I like that kind of stuff. I like deep dives into topics that no one gives a fuck about. I really like that kind of stuff because that is proof that they care enough about it to go to the effort, which is already a kind of eyebrow raise for me in a good way. Like, oh, I want to hear you talk about that obscure thing that I don't know what the hell it is. I like that idea. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff. I like if people are going to be talking about, like if you want to say review, I prefer casual, regular, down the pub chat kind of approach when talking about things rather than structured critique. Not that I dislike it. I just prefer the more off the wall kind of thing, especially again, and that does come down to the word content again a little bit. Sorry, content. I'm being a bit contentist. I'm sorry. But it does come down to that word a little bit because there are some people where it's almost like when they've uploaded a review or a critique of something, It's like, well, when did this thing come out? And how long did it take you to make the video? And then I'm one of those people that's like, okay, well, do I want to watch this, or should I spend a minute just seeing how many videos you've done recently? It's like, I think what I'm trying to say is, do I think that I'm going to get what I get out of it if it's like you've gone to watch a film and then you've scripted something and filmed it and edited it in the same day? And like, well, surely that can't be fully formed, and you're gonna make mistakes. And at that point, if it comes to review and critique, I'm not into that. If you are going to talk about it casually with, you know, off the wall jokes back and forth and shit, yeah, that I would rather that if it was soon after the film, like, rather than the structured approach, the scripted approach, if it was soon after the thing that came out. So I like that kind of thing.
Just because there, but it made me think of something there because I like the whole review thing. My biggest takeaway from university, among other things, was the idea of documentaries and like set pieces and critique pieces. No matter how hard someone tries, you could be working for a company, it could be your own little project. The documentary you're watching and the review you're watching is from that person's perspective. No matter how hard they try and how it is subjective in some way, how they phrase things, and it won't be an overtly they're trying to do it. It will just be a subconscious thing. So when you watch reviews of games or movies, play it yourself first, or at least understand.
Also, that
the person that's doing it is just like, you know, I mean, bad example, but a GameSpot or I don't know, IGN, they're doing it from their perspective because they've played it. You haven't. Go play it.
Yeah.
Take it on board, yeah, great, but go play it first. So I do get that.
And yeah, and the problem, like, even just saying that, and again, this isn't necessarily a problem quote. I'm doing that a lot, but it's because I'm being careful and I don't want to come across like a dickhead. So, but this is personal preference, I suppose. If I know that review copies have gone out for something, and then it's like IGN have taken the helm for talking about it, and then it's like, I know because I've been there, not just independently, but I've seen it firsthand in certain situations. Won't name names of people and companies and whatever else, but it's like when you're in that kind of boot camp mindset, it's like, am I even going to get anything out of reading this fucking review in the first place? Was it done quickly, or was it done professionally? Was it done passionately? Was it done even properly? Was it looked over once or twice? Was it edited? Was it even AI written? I don't fucking know anymore. So I just don't take the immediate responses, especially from modern publication. And that's I know that's very, it's almost like I'm putting everything into one basket, and I don't mean to. That's not what I'm trying to do. Because I know that I know of many that are genuinely good people that do good writing, but in a general sense, yeah, because it's like it comes across then a bit too reactive for me, and a little bit too scatterbrained, and a little bit too much like, hey, this is still a competitive industry that the all these aggregate sites and everything are doing. So how much of this is 100% like integral? And I don't even mean it in that sense. I know everybody jokes about, what's the meme? Ethics in game journalism. That's the fucking meme. Everyone knows what I mean when I say that. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about in general. I'm just talking like, even if a game is inarguably great and then the review of it is praising it, I'm still going to be like, eh. Or if it's bad, I'm still going to be like, eh. Because if it all comes out at a certain time on a certain day, there's some outside force that's influencing it. Even if it was like, this game came out, it was a 2-hour long game, and it came out a week before the review embargo lifted. So everybody, all the different websites, all the different people, they're all playing the game, and they're all doing their own individual writing and everything. And then even if it comes to professional writers on IGN, GameSpot, all those different places, even when it comes to them and those people, when the embargo opens, there's still going to be a tactic about, do we launch it do we get it up on the website a day earlier? Because then there's no chance that something goes wrong if we hit publish and then we have to redo it again, or we miss that window. If there's something that's like purely business, like, and I don't mean from a personal perspective, I just mean an outside force that's like, well, if we have to do this competitively and we have to do it that way. I know this is your personal opinion and you are personal and subjective and blah, blah, blah. We understand that. However, it is still a business, and there's something like that, an element of that that overshadows that and will influence how quick something is done, when it's done, or whatever else. I'm going to make up a random fucking hypothetical here, worst possible case scenario, but hey, let's do it. You're somebody that is a very, an up and coming writer for IGN, and you've got a couple of good reviews under your belt. You're doing well, but then someone in your family is sick, and they're not, they're not dying sick, but they're sick, really sick, and they need to be hospitalized for whatever reason. And so, they'll be dealing with that. And that's obviously going to affect how they view things, how they write things, their quality, their style. Obviously it will. And I can't hide from the fact that we've gone through shit like that. And of course it's going to roll off to some degree. The difference is I still want to make sure that despite that, that is my priority, and that I would rather that be dealt with and that be made okay, and that everyone is on the same page. And then the creative stuff, if it is being negatively affected by where my head may be or may not be at, I then will rather take a step back, try working on something else, do admin or something, and only make sure that I'm making something as good as it possibly can be, regardless of whatever is going on. It may take me more time. It might mean a sponsor gets pissed off with me because I'm missing a deadline. But then my argument is, well, do you want something good that people want to watch and people will click on and people want to then look at your sponsor? Because if you do, then you're going to need to let me fucking do my thing, because otherwise you're going to get shit and no one's going to care. And you're wasting your money and I'm wasting my time and my money. I'm going off on point. What I'm trying to say is that if there is that kind of overshadowing purely corporate angle to it, somebody that is in that position even could be compromised by the fact that they know they have to get something done despite what's going on, and it has to be done at a certain time. And the main reason for that is competition, because everyone else is doing it. And then you start thinking again, 20 million videos going up on YouTube a day, and it's like, yeah, okay, so why are you rushing to the gate that quickly? And if you are doing that, despite everything that's going on at home or in your life or whatever, then does that mean that it is actually going to be the best that you possibly can do? And at that point, does it matter if you get it done as corporate would suggest at the right millisecond of the day of the embargo lift or whatever? And will you regret it afterwards? Will it look bad on the company? Will it look bad on you? Would it look bad on the game? Would it, yeah. And again, I'm not naming names, not going to name names. I do know people, or new people rather, because I know people that are just streamers, and they're not critic people, they're not critical people, they're not review people. But I know people like that who keep good relationships up with every publisher and the PR people, and they'll get review copies of things and then they'll stream it, and they're in it for the ride, and that's awesome, and I appreciate that, and that's great. I've seen people, I should say, maybe new people, I can't fucking remember, it's years ago, but the people that will keep relationships with publishers safe, but also want to do the critic thing. And in my opinion, it just doesn't fucking work. And I don't even mean it in a kind of, oh, they're being too generous or they're being too kind or this or that or the other. I'm just meaning in where their head is at, because to them, it's more important to keep the relationship nice rather than it is to do the thing that they apparently are very passionate about and want to do, and the reason why they are even talking to the publisher in the first place.
Let's flip it, because I'm very keen to know. So
yeah.
we call Champion the Gamer. We do trying to highlight people and different kinds of people. But
Yeah.
why should someone be following you?
I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. Why should they? No, they
Yeah,
shouldn't be fucking doing anything. They should do what makes them happy. They should engage with what they like to engage with. They should watch what they should want to watch. Nobody should be watching me fucking do anything. I am a tiny part of this 20 million uploads a day ecosystem, and I'm making what I want to make. And if somebody, like, I'm at that point now, I'm going to use my most recent video again as an example. I'm at that point now where in the past, if somebody was to comment something along the lines of, this is fucking shit and it's bad and you should have done this, or here's my personal opinion on why this is wrong and that's wrong and why you should have done that and should have done this, obviously everyone's entitled to their opinion. When it comes to like people saying that, like, I don't know, just the very idea is, you know, how do I put this? Like we were saying at the beginning, when people are just like, you know, oh, you know, didn't like the video, where's Bandicoot Month or whatever. I cannot take that as it's not a criticism. The criticism, I guess, the argument would be is, oh, you've just done a random fucking thing and you hate your audience. When are you going to do the thing that actually we're here to see? Why are you, you know, stringing us along, dangling the carrot? That, I guess, that would be the argument. But my response again would be, do you want Monkey Dance or do you want me? Because me respects the audience enough where it's like, if you don't like the very idea of what I've done in a video or whatever, great, cool. I actually just don't fucking care, because I know I've made something that's true to me. I don't care anymore. When I've seen people say that either my most recent video on Welcome Tour is either the best thing I've done ever or a waste of time, and just like, you know, if it's that divided in that sense where it's like, it's not even that people are like, oh yeah, it was kind of meh, kind of mid. If people are going, this is incredible or it's terrible, I consider I've done right, you know? Because if it's mid, then I'm like, okay, so people are just, maybe that's a polite way of people being like, you're the very concept is maybe not their thing or what. But no, like the criticisms I see of the stuff with the new video are now kind of shit. Like, I'll give you an example. And I did find it it was kind of sweet and kind of sad. But somebody was saying, oh yeah, no, I'm a long time, I think this was on Twitter maybe, but they were saying, oh yeah, no, I'm a long time follower. I usually love everything he does. But but this is when I stopped reading, because I was like, oh, okay, maybe this person is actually really upset about a specific thing or a way I did a thing. And I'm reading it and I stopped reading, as awful as this is to say, because they said, oh, well, I usually love what he does. I usually love this. However, like, despite the fact I really loved the educational angle in the first few minutes, like, oh, you just don't fucking get it. That's great. Don't need to engage with you. If you're going to say, I usually love your stuff and I appreciate you trying to go educational, the whole opening of my new video is anti-educational. It's bollocks. If you took that as, oh, he's trying to be educational, then you don't get me, and that's fine. And I can't take that kind of thing seriously anymore. Hence, going back to your question, you should be watching what you engage with, what speaks to you. You shouldn't be watching me just because. And if you do that with other people, or you feel like you have to have your finger on the pulse just because you're on YouTube, that must mean you have to be subscribed to Ray William Johnson. No, you don't need to be, unless that's the game you're playing. And if you're just an audience member, you don't need to. Why? Like, you could hate everything I do and you're just watching just because it's relevant to a conversation somewhere else online. Why do you need to be a part of everything? Why do you want to be a part of everything? Why don't you just engage with the things that speak to you, mean something to you, and allow it to just be, I suppose. That's my answer.
I really hope in that answer you just gave there, where you said outwardly to begin with, follow what you want to follow. Don't follow me. That's why they follow you. That's why because your attitude and your approach and your stance on certain things, where you're supporting the viewer, let alone just yourself. That's why the people come back. That's why you've got that organic, sustained, founded like following. because people will appreciate that approach. It's like a sadly fresh, sadly dwindling stance nowadays, where it's just that earnest, like I am who I am. I'm posting what I like, and if you like it, great. If you don't. But this is why. This is why I'm doing it. And I think people need to see more of that, and they really appreciate.
I mean, that's very, very kind of you to say. I've never really thought too hard about it because, again, this is just virtue of the fact that I'm just doing what I want and being me more than I need to be AVGN and Jontron, but British and PlayStation. There's the second you drop the pretense and then you start talking as though you understand what you're talking about, when truthfully I don't. And then people start using your opinions on like a soapbox, or they start using you in arguments and shit. That's also another reason why, before we went wait, was it before we went live, or did we talk about it at the beginning? No, I think it was before we went live. We were talking about social media and just stopping the whole, I'm not even going to call it doom scrolling anymore. It's just it's just a waste of life. It's a fucking waste of time. I don't know, hot take, I don't know if the benefits of the truth coming out there every so often in social media is worth the vast barrels and barrels of waste that come with it. Every so often, yeah, a take I'll see, or a news article I'd see, or someone has exposed themselves for who they truly are, or an actor that you used to admire or whatever. Yeah, that stuff's obviously good, but like, to have it happen constantly all the time, and then you start following someone because they have the correct takes on things. There you go again, the correct takes on things, and then they eventually do something that's a bit what. It's so easy to get so hyper invested with the idea that like social media as a whole, including YouTube, is so awful that there's bright sparks of quote unquote truth. And I don't know if that's really a specific thing. It exists. I'm not saying it doesn't, but you never fucking know. You just never know what goes on, behind closed doors and everything. And that's partly the reason especially when you've got shit going on in your own life. I know people say touch grass is a meme, but at the same time, holy fucking shit. I'm not going to say touch grass in a rude sense, but I am going to say have an experience in your life greater than the sum of social media, I suppose.
Analogies, and I'm going to jump on what you just said there, because I use the ocean analogy, right? Because I see social media as this 98% negative, toxic ocean that you're traveling in, right? You're on your boat, go and find an island, little community, little space. That's lovely. That's a paradise. That's Hawaii, right?
As an escape, yeah. Like as everything else should be, yeah.
So then jump back on your boat and swim away and take your time away from it all, and then go find another island. Jump on, jump off again, but don't go in the ocean. You don't need to. And I think that's perfect for me. That just works. I don't want to see the 95% all the time. You're going to see it every now and then because you're scrolling through, but focus on the positive bits that you want to see. And go.
Yeah, like that's. I'm not advocating for people to stay out the loop and be brain dead and like, but I am going to say that like, it's like, shit happens in real life, absolutely. And this is why it's difficult to say. It's really difficult to say. And I'm not talking about news. I'm not even talking about politics. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like social media as a system, as a who is providing what information and what's the benefit of that to them and those people, and how that machine is turning and how the cogs are turning, I suppose. And this is part of the reason as well why social media I've just stopped. I post on it every so often. I look at things in my notifications and I'll respond to it every so often. But I used to engage, especially during the beginning of COVID, because I was in a very dark place. And I started realizing, does it actually matter for me? Not because people often say you've got an audience and there's a responsibility, right? And to an extent, I see where they're coming from. Also, I'm the guy that rips his shirt off and makes dinosaur noises with unwashed hair, living in a fucking skip with shit in it, right? Do you want me to tell you who to vote for, or should it be pretty clear based on how I present online, where the majority of stances of things lie? And do I need to insult the intelligence of people by being like, yes, do the thing, when ultimately I got my place online and people come to me for a specific reason? And at the end of the day, if I did start, again, like I said, I was doing a lot of this during COVID when everyone was going fucking cabin fever crazy and everything was just blowing up and burning around everybody. And it was just horrible. And people were still being horrible despite all of that. And it was very difficult to not engage with it. And I did. And eventually, my partner, Keris, had to tell me, like, you are changing. You need to stop engaging with it. And I'm very thankful for her for basically pointing it out, but it was a good point in the sense of, even if I was to say the right thing and I was to have the right, social stance, opinions, and all that kind of thing, and somebody was following me based on that, right? And, that's totally within their right, and that's fine. But at some point, if that's the sole reason you're following anybody online, especially social media and everything, at some point, the rug will be pulled. At some point, the ice will break, the bubble will pop at some point. And that invested emotional energy and that invested, I thought I could trust, I thought I felt like this, I felt like that. That happens to people that literally do news coverage, political takes and all that stuff. That happens to people that do that for a living, people that are known for doing that. That happens all the time. People's trust gets shattered and people go, are you who I thought you are? Well, but you said this and that doesn't add up with what you said about that. And you can get so wrapped up into it, right? And I understand that. So don't do that with the guy that rips his shirt off and fucking jumps into the skip making dinosaur noises. If you're doing it with, it's one thing to be with those, to have those kinds of relationships. I'm not going to go say parasocial because that's unfair, but it's one thing to have that kind of relationship with social media and people that are influencers on social media, whatever else, in news, politics, whatever else. It's one thing to have that because that's what they do. That's how they build their brand. That's how they make their money. That's what they claim is what they're doing, what they claim to be the right thing to do. I just want to make people laugh, and that's my place. That's my position. And if I can make a joke every so often that someone doesn't like, or an entire video that someone doesn't like, i.e. Jesus Games, then any take I could have about anything would be, it just wouldn't, it wouldn't be, again, it would be disingenuous. It would be so clearly I'm doing this because, oh, I have audience, therefore. And I don't know why anyone would want that kind of lack of authenticity in those kinds of things being shared, when it should really be more a question of, I know what my fucking place is, and I don't claim to be better than anyone or worse. That I'm just doing me. I am making things in my way and doing things in my way and trying not to be a giant cunt. That's all I would want from anybody. And just because you don't engage with every single fucking thing doesn't mean, especially someone in my position and how I've built my audience, it just, it's not about it not being my place to have an opinion or say. Do you get what I'm saying? It's difficult to explain. But yeah.
Yeah. We honestly, there's been so much to unpack from this. I can't thank you enough. Whenever we do this sort of thing, I try and get a perspective from the person in front of me because I think it's important. But before we finish, is there anything you want to finish with?
You broke up. What did you say?
Before we finish, we always do this. Before we finish, is there anything you want to finish with?
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, there might not be anything, but I always leave the floor open because there's always, like, as in a conversation where stuff spurs in your brain or you think of something on the spot. But Is there anything you want to finish with in terms of where your social media actually is, where you might be looking to have targets in the future, or do you want to just cut it now? Like,
Oh, I see what you. Oh, right. Oh, I see. Right. I thought it was like, have I got like a kind of like vaudeville act ready for you? No, I don't. Okay. Uh,
have you?
um.
That'd be tremendous.
Well, now that you say, then yeah, no. I'm on. I mean, I haven't streamed for ages, but I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. Caddicarus is the name. Spelling it is ridiculous. If you just type in CADD on YouTube, if my SEO guy is doing his job properly, I should be the first thing that pops up. Maybe below Caddyshack, maybe. But yeah, CADD. You'll see Caddicarus there. I upload when I can, and it could be months, it could be weeks. There's no rules. It's pretty open, it's pretty chill. And I'm on social media with the same name. I do, like I was talking about earlier, I was talking about how I don't do the whole TikTok culture and daily shorts thing, but I do make things that are vertical videos. But again, it's not commercial. It's not meant to do anything other than just, I think it's a funny idea. And it's if you're coming to me for anything, you're coming to me. You're not going to get my version of a thing that is the thing that is popular or is done. You're just getting my thing. That's the best way I can say. Yeah. And also, don't be a massive cunt to people. That's the only.
Apparently, it's quite difficult in this day and age.
Yes. Yeah.
I just want to say, Paul, before we finish, like, what I've loved about the stuff you do is one, authenticity. That's a big theme for our show, a big thing for people we talk to, because the common thread of successful people is that they're authentic in some way or in most ways. And the second thing is your humor. You fit me to a T. You are something that I would, because I've made this point before about content creators where content in hands, is that it's one thing to have content people like, but if I like the person behind it, I will stay regardless almost. And that's almost like another upper echelon of good quality because it says more about them than it does about anything else. And I think you sort of hit that nail on the head early. And I'm glad you spoke about your journey because I think it's important people realize it's not a ladder as such. It's a roller coaster you're trying to get onto the high points of because you've got to understand that you're going to have highs and lows, ebbs and flows. You're going to change how you want to make things, how you want to be portrayed, how you want to say certain things. So don't get stuck in a lane, like you said earlier. Don't get stuck in one.
Yep. Don't get stuck in a lane.
Yeah. You will eventually come back to the point where you're happy in your content, pun intended. But just, I'm thankful that you do what you do because it's an outlier nowadays where we haven't got that doom scrolling every single day, 5 videos a day. You make quality videos, and I know when it comes out, it's going to be quality. So you can sort of rest on that.
I think like I guess I would rather be known as the guy that makes decent videos rather than you need to be subscribed to this guy because every day he's memeing and it's hilarious. I don't want that. And that's, if you want that, that's great. I'm not going to judge. It's just, that's not me. I was going to add something to what you were just saying as well. We were talking about like the whole kind of, I'm going to simplify everything that I've been saying into another perspective, let's say. Creating things, being creative is inherently human. People that engage with creations are doing so because they are human. Just to very quickly, very, very, again, another hot take, possibly, I don't know. Generative AI, and it's not going where you think it's going. Not hot take, it's great. No. Hot take on generative AI. When it became or started becoming so prevalent and just everywhere, the immediate thing I started imagining is the natural order of things. And I mean that in terms of humanity. I hear about generative AI and everyone's worried about it. Everyone's terrified about it. And I understand. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the fear is unfounded and that, digital artists and all that, like they're at risk. And I totally understand that. Writers, I understand that. But again, like you said, like I've said, fucking 20 million videos a day on YouTube. It's unsustainable above anything else. That's the reason why, as uneducated maybe as this may come across, or like dismissive, or like yeah, whatever, I've never been worried about it. I've just never been worried about it, because the absolute most I could say about things generated by machines, algorithm, art, digital art, videos, anything, the best I can say ever is, oh fuck, that's impressive. Because it is. And like fucking, and like, okay, cool. Can I engage with it? No. Does it say anything about the person that made it? No. Creativity is human, like I said. People engage with the human creation, and they engage with it because they're human. It's human to human. If there is a barrier in the way, it just actually doesn't fucking work. If it's, I am engaging with not even the concept of the machine, but the thing the machine created, I'm not engaging with experience, opinion. I'm not fucking engaging with anything. It's just, that's impressive, the end. In the same way that, like, I find it impressive how fucking toothbrushes are made in a mass production line. It's impressive. I'm not gonna fucking engage with it though. It's, you know, and then vice versa. If somebody, like, if I make something that came from me and the audience is not human, that also doesn't work. It just doesn't fucking work. Like, it's inevitably going to collapse. And I don't mean collapse in any other way than people are going to get fucking sick of it. People are already sick of how much shit there is online and streaming and YouTube. And then it's like, oh, do you know something? We're not going to focus on anything better that's worth your time. We're just going to generate more for you to consume. And then you get to a point where you've got robots writing scripts for robots to read about comic books from 20 years ago that are edited by a robot, and the images are generated by a robot. And my question is, I'm not talking about the billionaires, the investors. Who in the audience wants to see that? Because I don't think it's that many people. There might be a very vocal minority. I'm sure there are. I'm sure they would love to see. But then the next question is, are they wanting to see the potential, or are they wanting to see something they actually relate to? Because if they relate to it, that's a fucking red flag right there. And I can't imagine that the target audience for creations is, it just can't fucking work. It just can't. And people are it's gonna get so drowning and so overblown. Everyone's gonna stop fucking engaging with everything, and they're just gonna go back to DVDs or something. I'm not predicting that, but human nature, emotional connections, reaching people through stories and whatever else, people get fucking sick of, like, when brands and sponsors talk about their story and how it reaches out to the audience, when it's like, you're trying to sell me Nikes
and
like,
their message.
And their message, exactly. People get sick of that shit. Why the fuck would anybody, like, it's not about, oh, do they care if it exists or not? It's about, why do people want to engage with the Netherlands McDonald's ad that just went out and immediately got taken down because it was shite? Like, why would you want to engage? It's not, the question isn't why do you care? It's why would you as a human being be like, this is an advertisement from $1 billion corporation that was generated by machines with the billionaires invested billions of dollars into, and the existence of it was to generate human beings in order to try and sell me more shit to generate billions for them in order to feed the cycle again. Why do you want to engage with that? That's the question. And I don't think anyone could really truly answer it, because it is entirely based on the human experience. And the only way that you could make any kind of generative AI, and I must stress generative AI in that sense, is by making it human, making a commentary about it. Be a person that's like, I have an idea that I'm going to use generative AI to further a thing that I'm going to try and make a point about, like, or something along those lines. Like, I've always had the idea of fucking just as like a shit post idea, and maybe to prove my point, I was thinking of this idea ages ago of like, you know, and then South Park beat me to it. But the whole, I'm going to get ChatGPT to write a video that I would make, and then I'm going to ask ChatGPT to tell me what to film and how to film it and what skits I should do, and the whole, and it's like one person could say, "Oh, he's using AI and it's lazy," but I would say I'm using it to try and make humanity out of it, to prove that it's bollocks and that it just doesn't work. And in virtue of me trying to make something human out of something that's trying to be human, that's kind of funny, because it is. And that's the entire concept of that joke of a kind of video like that. Instead of it just being the end, generate a Caddicarus video. Nah, I would ask it to, and then I would make a video based on the fact that I asked it to. Me, the human, is still doing the thing, and I'm using that as the jumping off point, not for inspiration, but to prove that it's like, if I just allowed this to do what it wanted and you had no human element from me whatsoever, it would be so awful that it would speak for itself. But how about if I tried it, saw what happened, and then made a video where I'm almost trying to blend with it, and that is in itself the joke. Making something out of the fucking comical nature of the whole mess. And that's the only way I can imagine getting a human being to engage with it on that level. In the same way that humans could probably engage with the way that we're talking about it right now. Generative AI exists. We are talking about it. We're not robots talking about the robots. We are people talking about the robots. So people can automatically engage with that. And then you've got to start thinking, hey, when you start seeing comments and social media and all that shit, is that a person? Is it a child? Is it a Russian? Is it a robot? Is it a baby that's left, that their fucking mum's phone left on the table and they're just hitting predictive text? You have no idea anymore what's real, what isn't. So do you think it's probably safest to just take everything with a pinch of salt and just not get so fucking invested in it, where it's like borderline life ruination, when it's like, you know, I posted about, I'm rambling, I'm sorry. You said, do I have anything to finish? Yeah, AI is a good idea. There was a thing. And again, I just found it funny. I don't give a fuck either way. I'm not going to campaign to get rid of it. I don't care. But there was this thing. I was looking at the comments on my new video, and and then something popped up underneath it, and it was on my app, and it said, "Hey, it's Google's AI here. Would you like to reply with one of our pre-generated responses?" And my immediate thought isn't, "Oh my God, I can't believe they're pushing AI." My immediate thought is, if you have made something yourself and it took you months to make, and you wrote it, you presented it, you fucking edited it, and you came up with the ideas, you directed it, quote unquote, you got the gameplay, you've got fucking, you got all of that shit together, you spent months on it, then somebody comments something nice, or a joke, or a meme, or they comment something negative, whatever, and then you are in the comments to the thing that you spent months making, looking in the comments because you want to look at the comments and see what people are saying, and then you look at a comment that you feel, I want to engage with this, I want to respond to it, I want to keep the joke going. Why at that stage, at the very fucking end, would YouTube assume that you just want to hit a pre-generated response and move on? It doesn't, I'm not outraged. It's fucking stupid. It's stupid. And the only thing I can imagine that it is for is pushing engagement. At which point, that raises more questions. And then it also begs the question, well, if everybody now has generative responses, and the reason is so that they can get more comments, and the reason is so that everyone can save time, and so the reason is that everyone can then get better suited into the algorithm because there's more engagement now, then doesn't that mean that everybody with one subscriber is now exactly the same? And now they're no different from the people that can afford, i.e., your Mr. Beasts, to have a team of people that are on multiple videos on their laptops all day long, hitting auto response, auto response, auto response. Does it help? No. And does it? And why are you in the comments if all you're going to fucking do after all of that? Why are you even reading the comments if all you're going to do is hit pre-generate response? Are you reading the comment? Like, what the? It's like, and then you've got to ask yourself, is the comment from a person?
Honestly,
you know,
firstly, right, love it. Secondly, because I was stunned. Secondly, can you please write an audiobook or something? Just like a pep talk book, realism book, like a bring yourself back down to earth and perspective book, because I'll have it straight away.
I mean, that's very sweet of you to say.
And thirdly, you again have just proved a point as to why, if this is for the listeners now, if for the love of God you don't know who this guy is, please follow him, or at least look at him once and just dive yourself, because I will never say to somebody, and this is like one of my mantra things, you have to follow somebody. Like I'm known as on a TikTok for like being this champion of others, this like share other profiles and stuff that I really enjoy. But the credibility, if that's the correct word, comes in because I legitimately do enjoy that person. If I was to share your profile on whatever it was, the videos I do, I legit follow you. Like I'm not just getting like as you said, almost like a generated list of people. Like I could do that, and I wanted to. Here's 10 people, go follow them because they're great. You don't know why I follow them though. But you don't understand why that is. So it gives more credibility, I think, to say I follow this person because of X and Y, and you stand out on that list, obviously for certain reasons. But again, if you're going to go and have a look at someone, look at Caddicarus, please do.
Well, that's very sweet of you to say. I guess that just goes to prove why I'm here, because obviously I get invites for this kind of stuff all the time. I get invites for interviews, podcasts, sponsors, and it's really funny because it's at that kind of point now where there's the obvious funny ones where it's like, we really like, hello creator. It's like, oh yeah, okay. Immediately I know that this is, and even then, even if there's some sort of, code in place where they're able to mention my channel name, it's like, well, okay, you don't know my real name. You're emailing me. Fuck off. You don't even know the thing that's public information. Jim, it's easy. It's everywhere. So that's the other thing. But then even when it gets to the point of like that, it's like, hello, Jim Caddick. Oh no, you just got that from social media. Why are you using my full name? Very fucking straightforward. Mr. Caddick, again, a bit strange. That could be a code thing as well. If it was Caddy, that's my nickname. I don't usually put that somewhere. That's usually a kind of sign that they have at least know who the fuck I am. But there's just, and then there's like a company will offer you like, we really love how you've engaged with an audience and your brand and your content and everything. And by the way, we have a sponsor deal for you where we can send you all of our latest beauty products. Like, okay, all right, okay, I get it. But this is the thing. I get these kinds of things, even with that, like just this, what we're doing now. And it's like, oh, this is opportunistic. And it's opportunistic for the obvious reasons, because it's like, well, you don't know who the fuck I am. And then not only do it just is. It's not an opinion. It is opportunistic because like you can't even be fucking bothered to know my name or address me by my name or whatever when you're asking me to appear on something. So it's like, okay, probably a robot or some poor employee that's just asked to go down the list of people or whatever. So I'm not going to hold it against those kinds of people. But then it becomes another thing entirely when then it's like, it's opportunistic, but also because you've proven that you don't know who I am and you don't know anything about me, and it's just, oh, you hit trending recently and that's why I'm in this list of people. You don't know when you invite me onto your thing that you think that is going to go well for you. You don't know what the fuck I'm going to say. You don't know what the fuck I'm going to do. You don't know if some topic of discussion is gonna rub either of us the wrong way. You don't know if we're gonna gel in a sense of humor sense. You don't know. You don't know. You just don't know. Like, and you could get all sorts of, asks from all sorts of people on all sorts of different spectrums of life. And it's like, I don't know. I think the least anyone can do is at least just be like, if I am going to be opportunistic, I should at least know if I'm going to fuck myself over by inviting them first. And if that barrier of like, what do you call it? Safety, what do you call it? Like self-defense, self-awareness, like stranger danger. If that isn't even like the first thing, that's immediately concerning, I suppose. It's worrying. And it makes you then further wonder when you see shit online and quotes from people, and it's like, you take things out of context or whatever else. It's like, well, how did we get to that point? And what are the reasons behind it? And this is just my personal opinion. I think we are so far fucking beyond nowadays. We are so fucking far beyond the idea of internet safety. I don't think that's a thing. I think it's safety, because I'm going to assume we're similar ages.
I'm 35.
You're a bit older than me. Okay, like only by like probably three and a bit years. So I'm 31. So we're the same. I would say the same generation. Like, you had the IT room, I'm guessing, or is that a few years out?
The show or the
No. They're like at school.
Oh yeah, so we had the IT room, and it would have been when I was in primary school, quite literally one PC.
Oh, okay, right. So when I was in primary school,
we had the full rooms, yeah.
Okay, so when I was in primary school, by the time I got to year 5, it was a case of we had the IT room with multiple computers, and then we had the classroom with like one wall of maybe 10 for people to use during, wet break time and all that stuff. At that point, the internet was something that you had to, dial up and all that shit. You had to access it. You had to go through the effort of getting in there. And then even with broadband coming out, it was still a bit of a fucking trek. There was nothing always online in terms of like, oh, there is a supercomputer in my fucking pocket that's constantly connected, and I'm getting feeds of notifications and real-time updates of things. And it is important to stress that, because internet safety for you and me growing up would have been, we have real life, and then we have the IT room, and we have
effort to get online in the first place.
Absolutely. We have the computer world and the real world. Internet safety at that point makes sense. It doesn't make sense when every student is going into these fucking schools with the internet permanently in their pocket. Internet safety is no different from real life safety at this point. And I don't think it is very productive or intuitive to teach kids about the like necessarily the dangers of the internet or any of that stuff, when ultimately it's like, if you're going to go down the dangers of the internet thing, then you need to come straight the fuck out and be straight and be like, hey, I know this is pretty horrible, right? But it's like, here's the thing. If you're a parent and your 4-year-old has the latest iPhone, there is every fucking chance you don't know what they're doing on it. Yeah, you can have parental shit in place, but that could be you as an individual doing that. There will be, and there's going to be more than you probably think, other parents who just don't give a shit, and they will allow their kids to do anything on that phone. And they could be 4 years old, but they could also run into a fucking Discord pedo ring, because and it's like, oh, well, they're too young to understand that. If the opinion is they're too young to understand it, then they're too young to have a fucking phone with internet access. You either talk about the bad shit or you don't. And it's not even about stranger danger anymore, because unless you're allowing your 4-year-old to leave the house on their own, you can talk about stranger danger a little bit more safely, a little bit more gently, because most of the time I'd like to imagine the 4-year-old is with the parent when they're outside. On the internet, unless you are watching every move they make, they might as well be in a virtual outside on their own. So you can't be gentle about it because you don't know where the fuck they're going to end up. And if you think you can trust a 4-year-old with that kind of power, then it needs to be talked about. And if that's outrageous to people, which, you know, it likely is, don't fucking give them a fucking phone. When it comes to the older kids, there are people that I guess would still probably say that's a bad thing, you know, despite the stuff. My youngest stepdaughter, she'll be 16 in fucking January, but she's like, you know, she's I think she's alpha. I don't think she's Z. Maybe she's Z. I don't know. She's one of those gens.
I'm sorry. I'm at the point. I don't even know what they are.
Okay, do you know something? What generation is 20 Gen Z? Okay. Okay, early it could she's between Z and Alpha. Okay. Well, either way, it's like, you know, so she's had it a little bit easier than most in terms of access. And even with that being said, you're seeing people like Andrew Tate and those kinds of fucking people that are getting, and it's annoying as well because most of the time it's hard to distinguish with teenagers specifically. Are you just being an edgy fucking dick, edgy edgelord because you're a teenager and you've just learned how to say, "Mum, I hate you"? Is it that, or is it something deeper? You don't. It's hard to tell sometimes, and it's a bit weird. But I think at that point, if that's a concern, which I think it's a legit concern, then what needs to be talked about isn't just the straightforward, don't believe what you read on the internet, like, because that's what the parents are saying. And you know what teenagers do? They often don't fucking listen to the parents. That's kind of the whole shtick. So instead, I would say if they're at a certain age where they could handle this concept, I suppose, it would be more about presenting the idea. You don't want to be made a fool of, do you? You don't want to be, you know, an idiot, do you? You're old enough. You're not an adult yet, but you're not a child, right? You're not a fucking baby. You're not like a whiny crybaby in your silly nappy pooing yourself. You think you're all that shit. So how about teaching the idea that when they see something extreme and an extreme opinion or an idealized version of life that they aspire to, or they think this is reality, or this is what I want, and this person is telling me why that is, and I believe them and I trust them. How about, do you want to be an idiot for a second, or do you want to actually think, why are they telling you this? Because if you think about it and you start breaking it down, when you explore the reasons why certain people will tell teenagers certain things online, it makes you a little bit of an idiot for believing it, doesn't it? It's a bit harsh to say that, but I think it's the only way sometimes to get in the brain of certain kinds of people now that the internet is just integrated with everything, where it's like, okay, how about we look at intent? And I don't even mean intent in like, oh, well, the intent is that they want to be sexist or whatever. No, the intent of why are they saying the things they're saying in the way that they're saying them? And does it benefit you or does it benefit them? And are you being used? I don't think that's being taught enough. And I don't claim to know the answers, but I'm, again, just based on witnessing things just as a father figure, it's just that's the only thing I can imagine now that everything is just a horrible wasteland and you've got 8-year-olds on social media. It's like, well, I don't know what's left to talk about other than like maybe the idea that they're being used because they are young and impressionable and they think you're stupid. You know, I don't know, because it's teenagers are edgy and they'll say the most outlandish things. Just saying to a teenager, if they say a racist word or something, hey, that's racist, yeah, they know that's why they're saying it. Like,
it's funny how the line between the internet we see and a kid would see, between that and, is it Weibo, the Chinese sort of Facebook and internet.
I don't fucking know.
So they've basically got a separate Facebook, separate internet, haven't they? So that they're separate to everybody else's.
Yeah, I knew they were censoring stuff. I've heard of that,
Yeah,
but yeah.
it's funny how the line though is in a weird way with more and more exposure to things can also then become slightly more condensed because if you start saying, well, safety is we accepted that these kids are going to see everything. It's how much they see. If
Mm.
you start accepting that as a premise, then eventually the term probably becomes, well, actually, we can't stop them, so let's stop them. Let's take that away, and we'll ban
Hmm.
up to a certain age, or we'll put certain restrictions on as a wholesale thing, or make it so it's completely separate internet for the teenagers than it is for the adults, or whatever. I don't
Hmm.
know. I'm rambling now, but that's you see what I'm saying, right? It's funny how that line starts to become less and less wide, in a way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, honestly, I could chat to you for days.
Thank you, dude.
There's stuff there that it's. I think what you do is tremendous. I think your approach to things is tremendous. I think you've got this measured and bright and earnest approach to things that I think people can learn from. And I want to thank you again because I think what you've done is you've put a platform out there which says you haven't got to be in this box. You haven't got to be this in the churn, in the content churn. You got to stand out in some way. And if that means taking a step back and jumping in and out every now and then, do that. Find who you are first. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, everyone's got a very, in the grand scheme of things, a very limited time on this earth. The older you get, I'm sure that you like, even though you're only 3 or 4 years older than me, I'm sure that you feel as though time is just condensing and like 10 years, like the last 10 years for me hasn't flown by. But when I think about it, I'm like, oh my God, that a decade has passed. I haven't reached that point where 10 years is like an eighth of my life and it doesn't feel like anything anymore. But I'm still feeling that kind of, oh my fucking God, that was 10 years ago kind of thing. And it's so for me now, years mean nothing, as in individual years. Like a year can go by and I'm like, wait, I thought that was last week. Like, yeah. So yeah, just like be true to yourself, and just be fucking careful. And just I don't know. I don't know. I don't claim to have the answers. This is the problem. Because if I start telling people what to do, then I'm everything that like is counterintuitive to my entire point. Because yeah, I don't know. It's a strange world we live in. Everyone just needs to be true to themselves, be fucking careful, and think. I say about the intent of everything and the approach of everything. And I don't even just mean why awful people are doing awful things or any of that kind of thing, but also why have they made this thing in this way? And did they make it quickly? And if they did, then why? And blah, 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 blah. When you start breaking that shit down, you start discovering a lot of things that you might not even consider. Like I mentioned AI and all that shit. I mean, H Bomber Guy's plagiarism video, it's a long one. It's a absolute fucking definite well worth watch. And when he starts breaking down the whole kind of plagiarism thing, and then like, well, he approached it like kind of how I was just describing it, which is the why. It's like, because it's on, you don't think about it. It's like, well, they plagiarize because they're lazy or they plagiarize. No, usually it's because of other ulterior motives that benefit them in a way you probably wouldn't expect. And it could be financial, it could be power related, it could be anything related. But yeah, it's important to be like, well, why specifically are certain people doing things in a specific way? And what does that say about them? Kind of thing. And yeah, that's when it's almost like, hey, if I see, I really like, documentaries on YouTube and like independent kind of stuff like that. I like I said, deep dives and all that kind of shit. But it's like, hey, if you are a channel that I've just subscribed to and they say something along the lines of weekly documentaries, I unsub. Not and it's no comment on the ability, or there could be 200 people doing it, but it's the point that it's like, why weekly? And I can't get that out of my head then. Why are you uploading frequently? Why are you not uploading frequently? I'm always asking why. And taking the context of whatever the thing is I'm engaging with into account with that. Oh, this podcast is uploading every week. That makes sense. It's a fucking podcast. It's recording audio and video and barely editing it together, no script, free form. That makes sense. My question is answered. And then at that point, the why could be, are you doing it because you love doing it, or are you doing it for money? And then at that point, but yeah, the intent and the approach, I think, is just so fucking telling. And you know what? Same thing goes to the channels that are dedicated to true crime, and they will not say the words that they should be saying. And I think you know what I mean when I say that. Like, I am going to create something about a topic that I am passionate about, and I'm passionate about making things and being creative and writing a thing and talking about a thing and deep diving into a thing. And it just so happens that that thing is real life horror and awful people doing horrific things in real life. And I'm going to include horrible details about things that have happened to real people. The families are probably still alive, and they're not going to engage or look for these things, but they're there, and I'm aware of that. Do I approach it like I care and like I want to tell a story about serious things because I'm passionate about that, and that's why I've started a crime channel? Or am I going to say cheese pizza and sewer slide? Because it sounds like you're making a fucking joke at that point. And if the answer is then, yes, but demonetization and taking it off, then you fucking upload it, have it 18 plus, and have a Patreon then. Because then at least I understand where your head is at when you are making videos about real people butchering other real people. And it's not just, oh yeah, well, algorithm. Oh, so that's why you're doing it, because then it comes across as exploitative. It's like, yeah, I get it. And if I was to make those kinds of jokes, oh yes, it's suicide, but I'm trying to be funny. Like, these people are apparently trying to be, talking about stuff that they really, really want to talk about. And like, oh yes, I'm going to start a thing that involves 18 plus subjects and 18 plus images and 18 plus videos and 18 plus people and the most horrific crimes known to mankind. But when I put it on YouTube, I want under 18s to be able to see it. And that means I'm going to blur out every single thing that's, too gory. And I'm also going to bleep certain words that I think might trigger something in the algorithm. And it's like, so why are you doing it then? Is it because I guess the intent is just it just raises questions to me. So I don't engage with that kind of stuff either. Because it's just, at least beep, at least censor beep. That's fine. And blur out things that are just too insensitive. I understand that. It's when people start going on in like incredibly deep, scary, serious voices about like everything was okay between the couple, and then the cheese pizza was uncovered. Like, what? No, this sounds like a parody, and that's just on face value. And then you start thinking, well, why does it sound like a parody when they're clearly trying not to be, because they're apparently talking about real crime and they're not trying to be funny? Oh, is it because they want it to be in the algorithm? Oh, okay, so it's money. Okay, well, that's nice. So then I don't know. That's a specific thing because it's true crime. Like, you can't apply that argument to many other types of videos, but yeah, with that kind of thing, I've always felt weird about that. Definitely.
The level of gratitude and whatever I feel for this is immense, because I wanted to start this podcast for certain reasons, and you said their intent's a big thing, and conversation was one, and championing smaller creators, or whichever kind of creator it is, and finding the gamer in someone, because we've all got someone somewhere, was always the intention. It was always the outlier. And I've always said, because you said something earlier about people that you don't agree with, So I wouldn't mind having a conversation on the podcast with someone that I do disagree with, because that way you create more conversation. It hasn't necessarily got to be a lovey-dovey, we love each other conversation. It can
To be
that.
very clear with people as well, I agree with that. And it depends on the thing that's being disagreed on. When it's like, is this worth hearing about? You know, like, yeah, because there are some things where it's almost just like, this isn't even fucking worth engaging with, and this is clearly rage bait, or, you know, yeah. So I agree with the sentiment, though, yeah.
Yeah, because my thing was always, if you can make it, or the goal anyway, is to make it a productive back and forth. It's not like, oh, I'm right, you're wrong, and vice versa. Yes, we have that stance, kind of, but if we can understand each other a bit more, then great. So that was always what this thing was for. So to start 2026 with this, different reasons, obviously. But what I mean is the conversation level, the detail, the willingness to chat about different things of content creation and media. I can't thank you enough. I think this has been absolutely amazing. I think you do great stuff.
Thank you so well, dude. I appreciate you, dude. I didn't intend to, like you say, it's a conversation. It was more just like a battering of words that you've just taken like a champ. Like that's really, it wasn't really a back and forth for most of it.
No, we said before we started, mate, if I could have someone chat for 3 hours and I can record it, I'll take it.
Nice.
You know, so I honestly think you do stuff that you're not giving yourself enough credit for, if I'm being honest. But take that as a real positive, because you do great stuff. And for the love of God, if you're not subbed, please do. You've been episode 84. I'll catch everybody on the next one.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everyone.